The final frontier of emulation has finally been cracked. How's that for an AI slop intro? If you could help me make a better one, I'd love to hear from you. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. We're here to talk about eXoWin9x. November 22nd, 2025, I'm very proud to announce the release of Volume 1, 1995 through 96, including a handful of 5 games that came out in 94 that apparently were Windows 32-bit. Now, before we get to that, how did we get here? A little over a year ago, almost 2 years ago, I made a video that went down to fairly explicit detail of why we couldn't do a 9x project. And really, if you really want to sum it up super short, it came down to disk space in terms of duplicated files. Windows 9 installation, 95 or 98, takes up over 200 megabytes. You can really slim them down if you cut everything out, but you need a lot of those dependencies to run the games. And if you have that duplicated for thousands of games, then pretty soon you have terabytes of replicated Windows 9x data. And it would be a pretty hard sell for me to come here and say, hey guys, Windows 9x is ready. It's only 22 terabytes. You know, that's a lot of work for something that 5 of you are going to download. Now, off that video, I have an amazing member of my Discord who came along. Goes by the name of Terra Longer. And he figured out, okay, if the problem with parent-child relationships in images is that the child is essentially storing so much data that it completely removes the benefit of using a parent-child, and the real quick on that is, in a parent-child relationship, when you make a change, it's supposed to store just that change to the child, and the parent stays left alone. That way you could technically have one parent of the 9x operating system, and then every game is its own child. And when you make changes to that operating system, like the registry or the file structure in the C drive for the Windows folder, then only those changes would get written to the child, and you would solve the problem. Except the way the current technology is, it's storing a lot of changes. Every little thing that gets touched is getting changed, and so even if you only modify a 5 kilobyte file, you end up with a 75 megabyte, 100 megabyte child file. When we're trying to save 200 megabytes per game and the child image is already 100 to 150, just because you put an icon on the desktop, that's not going to be beneficial for anybody. The other aspect was a dynamic virtual hard drive. A lot of hard drive images are the size on disk that they report. So if you say you want a 2 gigabyte file, you get a 2 gigabyte file, even if 99% of that is completely blank data. Now, there are a couple of formats that allow you to have what is called a dynamically sizing VHD, virtual hard drive. And that means it will report that it has up to 2 gigabytes of free data for the FAT32 system. But it doesn't take up that much space on disk. It only takes up on disk what you've actually written to it. So if you've only used 150 megabytes of disk space, that's the size of your VHD. So we needed those two things to be solved. And what Terra Longer did, very genius, was to come in and say, okay, well, I can do the dynamically sized VHD with a system like DOSBox X. But what if I manually create the child images instead of relying on an existing technological format like the QCOW2 format? And so what Terra Longer did was every time, well, he'd mount your parent C drive, and then he'd bring in the D drive, and he would install the game to the D drive. And the game would make some changes to the C drive. Little things like the registry. Some games wrote things to the Windows folder. He would capture every change and write it to a folder that exists on the D drive. And then he wrote a little Visual Basic script that every time you boot Windows, it runs that script and it reapplies the changes to the parent. And then when you exit and you come back in again, it regenerates a brand new parent every time you launch. That way, you're always starting with a clean version of Windows 98. every time you launch. And that solved the issue and allowed us to begin building this project. The project deserves thanks to a lot of folks. We had a whole crew led by Jimmy Murphy on the forums, on the Discord channel, that spent years tracking down games so that when we had the technology, we would be able to execute on this. Tara Longer came up with the idea to do a manual child image and the Visual Basic scripts that copy it and make it work. And then a fellow that goes by Dutch Magic, who you may know from our EXO demo scene project, stepped up and helped me tremendously with a lot of the metadata. And what made all this work so quickly is the EXO framework. We have a framework that we've rolled out. It allows us to quickly integrate a new project into a very consistent, standardized format, which is why we've been able to, in the last year, release eXoIF, EXO demo scene, an EXO Scum VM update, and of course, about a year ago today, EXO DOS version 6. And we got plenty more coming too. So, we've talked about how we got here. We've talked about how we skinned the cat. Let's take a look at the project itself. Here we have the Win9x Volume 1 setup. These are games from 1994 through 96. We will be releasing 97 not too long from now, followed by 98 and 99, etc. The back end, how we're defining this, is Windows 9X is games that were written for Windows 95 and Windows 98. Now, that means it's a 32-bit Windows application, and then that helps us define the beginning of the era. For the end of the era, it's a little bit more ambiguous. What I'm going with is DirectX 9C, which was the last version of DirectX that directly supported Windows 98. And since DirectX is a primary dependency for a lot of games, that is a good bellwether. Now that means we could have games that run on 98 that came out as late as 2007, 2008, but they're going to be the minority, the same way we only had a handful of Microsoft DOS games coming out in 98. As we go through the list here, you're going to see we actually have some pretty great bangers. Actually, before we even look at the list of games, here's the cover. We got our 9X in operation emulation. I chose to do a spoof off of the Virtual Stupidity cover from the Beavis and Butthead game. I've always loved that point-and-click adventure. It feels like you are playing an episode of the TV show. It's wildly stupid. It's got great voice work, having Mike Judge come into it. And finally having that game easy to launch and play has been a dream of mine for a long time. And, I mean, these two idiots still make me laugh. So I lost more time replaying Virtual Stupidity than I did any other game in the pack, except for, well, there's a few others that really got my time too, but this is one of my favorites. I think Neverhood might be my other favorite that really steps out from the point-and-click adventure genre. And speaking of favorites, we'll get to that. If you want to know the best games in the pack, you can find them really easy based on me and my staff's selections. So back over to the project here. As we scroll through here, it works just like any other project. If you have not used an EXO project before, we use Launchbox as our front end. You can scroll through the games, you can right-click on them, and for example, if we come to 3D Pinball here, you can install, you can configure it. If there are any extras, our plugin lists them at the bottom. So here you can see we have the installation guide and the UK manual. Now, some games have some really cool extras. One that comes to mind, Myst. If you click on that one, you can actually watch a behind-the-scenes video of the making of the game. It takes me back every time I hear that music. I think the sound design of Myst is one of my favorite aspects of the game. That's one of the only soundtracks I would listen to. My ringtone is that right there. Man, it takes me back. Now, I will let you watch the behind the scenes on your own time. There are other cool things in there too. There are novelizations, there's comic books, there are, if you go to, like, let's say Space Quest, you can right click, go to extras, And you'll see you even have the universal hint system. Click on that, and there we go. You can come through, and if you've never used the hint system before, they're great files. They don't tell you the exact way to get around something. They give you clues that proceedingly get more and more on the nose, so it lets you figure out the solution. You can see we have a couple of games already installed here. We got Virtual Stupidity, Monty Python the Holy Grail, and Neverhood, 3 of my favorites from that time period. Let's go ahead and kick one of these off. We'll go with the Holy Grail. Now, my system is moving the screen to the center. I can move it over, but every time it refreshes, it's going to recenter it. It's going to continually do this to whatever your main monitor is. We have a beautiful background we've generated for the project here. Now, if you have not played this game, it is a hilarious take on the movie. It feels like you're in a Terry Gilliam animated cartoon. I've got memories of being woken up in the middle of the night because my mother was on our Packard Bell playing this game, and she was drinking her wine and laughing so hard that she was waking the whole house up. No refunds. Now, this game was actually developed by 7th Level, who was right here in Dallas, Texas. Now, when you are done playing the game, you can click on the X if you like and quit. Or you can do the old-fashioned way and click on the Start button and shut down Windows. Now, we are currently looking at a methodology by which the game will auto-exit when you're done. However, there is a tricky aspect of that script. A lot of Windows programs transfer from one executable to another. We have to make sure that when an executable closes, the game does not assume that you're done playing. So most likely we'll have a little button in the corner that says I'm done playing. You click the button and it'll shut out for you. That'll be in release version 2. The next thing we're going to talk about here is save games. If a game allows you to pick where you want to save your game, please choose the D drive. Nothing that you put on the C drive will be kept the next time you start. You're getting a fresh C drive every time you launch. Now, there are a handful of games that you cannot control where they put the save game. Virtual Stupidity is a good example. That one actually writes save games to your registry. It does not save them on disk. That allows you to completely run the game off CD-ROM. While clever, it did create a problem for us. So, if you come across a game and you are not able to save it to the D drive, and when you restart the game you find that your save is gone, please reach out to us and let us know. We will fix the game for the next release. Unfortunately, we did not have the time to go through and play all 664 games and ensure where the games were being saved. Now, that can include save games, high scores, options. If you notice there's any aspect of the game that is resetting every time you restart, please let us know. We will handle that. And we're relying on you guys as a community to help us with that. Otherwise, we would have spent way too long getting this pack out. We never would have gotten to 97 and 98. And believe me, there are some bangers coming up in 97 and 98. And beyond, for that matter. Now, let's talk about how you find the best games in the pack. If you come over to your search bar and you move it to favorites, you can hit yes, and these are games that have been hand selected by my staff and I as the cream of the crop for these years. Games like the 3D Pinball series, amazing. I love Creep Night. Nine the Last Resort is a first-person adventure game. It has all kinds of celebrity voices in it. A lot like Myst, only not quite as desolate. We have some of the Westwood Virgin Interactive Disney games. Now, these are kind of rare for Windows. There was a Disney CD-ROM we found that had Lion King, Jungle Book, and Aladdin on it. Bermuda Syndrome is a really great point-and-click adventure that was only in the Windows 9X, not DOS. We have a somewhat rare copy of Caesar 2 for Windows. It's more common to have the DOS version out there. Dave over at This Week in Retro will swear by Chaos Overlords. He lost a lot of time to it this week. Cosmology of Kyoto is a strange horror game that gets into the history of Japan. As you come down here, we have a Windows version of Gabriel Knight. We've got Load Runner, which is great. We've got Lemmings for Windows. Of course, you got to have Microsoft Flight Simulator and Golf. You've got some great Muppet games. The Neverhood, I have probably already talked about it a ton. This is an amazing point-and-click adventure game, completely made using stop-motion animation and clay. Absolutely beautiful. I grew up with Rise and Rule of the Ancient Empire, so it might be a little bit of a bias that I put it on this list. It's not as good as Civilization, but as a kid who didn't have Civilization, I love that game. We have some pretty cool things in here that you're not going to find elsewhere, including, let me go back to platform category here, the Network Edition of SimCity 2000. You can play this one online. So let's talk about Remote Network. This is a pretty ingenious setup that Terra Longer also came up with. When you start a game that has multiplayer, it's going to ask you, do you want to be host or join? It will then assign a MAC ID, MAC address to your virtual IP. It will go out and it uses a third-party IPX emulator. Now, when you install the project, it's going to ask you, hey, you need NPC cap. If you want to play multiplayer, do you want to install it? And it's a quick install. You'll leave all the options default if you install it. Without it, you're not going to be able to play multiplayer. Unlike Exodus, there's no typing in IP addresses or anything like that. You run the game, and it shows up online, and anybody who is playing multiplayer eXoWin9x games can see each other in the world. So if you want to play Diablo with somebody, you could technically just boot up, start a game, and see if someone will join you. Or show up on our Discord and say, hey guys, I just started a Diablo game. Anyone want to join me? And when people hit join, they're going to go into Diablo. They're going to be able to click IPX Network, and they're going to see your game listed right there. It's a private network that all eXoWin9x games are on. We may move that to a new system in the future where you can start up your own direct connect server. But for now, this is a really great option that we're going to try out. Now, when 1997 comes out, and 98 and 99, you will be able to take those packs, download them, and put them in the same folder as this pack. You rerun that setup file, and it will merge everything together into one pack for you. So you don't have to have one folder with 96 games, one folder with 97 games. They'll all merge together, and if you'd like, you can even merge in the other EXO projects. You can have EXO-DOS, EXO's Windows 3.1. You can have EXO Dream, EXO Scum VM, EXO Interactive Fiction, EXO Demo Scene, EXO Apple IIgs. There might be more. I'm starting to lose track of how many projects we're running right now, but they all merge together into one giant, massive front end full of all the normalized data. Now, notice I said normalized. I have spent the last year opening all the projects, loading the XML files together, and ensuring that Activision, Incorporated is the same across every single pack. Or the way fantasy games are set up to series. Or the way Sierra Online games are categorized. The point being, when you merge them together, all the metadata plays together nicely. So if you find a game in a series, you'll be able to track that series through every platform that we've already done. And they will all have the exact same type of genre, developer, publisher. It's all the same. You're not going to have 5 different spellings of Sierra Online on the list. You're not going to have, this one is a theme detective game, this one is a theme mystery game. No, they're all going to be theme mystery. And that normalization goes a long way as this pack and all these packs continue to grow and the number of games becomes exponential. A lot of aspects of this release are in a trial mode. We're trying to figure out what works best. This has not been done before. There are a handful of websites online that have gotten a handful of games running from 9X period. But nothing like this. Nothing where you can go in and have a complete library of everything that has come out since the beginning of Windows 95 all the way up to the end of 96. And hopefully within a few months here, you can add 97 to the cadre and on. I'm excited about this project. It is the most requested project we have had at the EXO group since I came along. People have been asking me about this since 2010, 2009. Well, since I put eXoDOS out, people have been asking me about a 9x project. Very happy to bring it out. There will be many more videos coming up in the next weeks talking about new features, doing deep dives into specific games that we have to offer, and addressing the questions and concerns that you guys have. So, with that in mind, please comment below. Not for the algorithm, but so I know what you think. Let me know what you think about this. Let me know what you'd like to see. Let me know if you run into problems. Tell me what games aren't saving right. Communicate. And this is a two-way street. We over at Exo, me and Terra Longer and Dutch Magic are going to continue knocking these 9x projects out. And you guys are going to let us know how we can improve upon that. I'd also really like to thank the guys at This Week in Retro. They were so kind having me on, and I worked with them to announce the release of eXoWin9x on their weekly podcast. To follow that up with, the guys from the Retro Hour were very kind and had me on this week as well. There's going to be a lot of talk about this project. It's big. This is something new, and I'm excited. I really am, and I would love for you guys to share that with us. If you go to my website, you can get the project there. It's completely free. It's retro-exo.com. I'll put a link in the description for you. We have sold collector's boxes for eXoDOS in the past. I'm not selling any kind of collector's box for this at this time. Maybe at the end, when we get all the years out, I'll put something together for those who want to have something on their shelf. But I really want to focus on the fact that this is just completely free, and it's designed to help everybody enjoy games that have been completely missing from the zeitgeist for years now. There's games that people just have not been able to play. If you Google "Where in Time is Carmen Sandiego," the Windows 98 version, there are Reddit threads, there's YouTube videos, people asking, hey, where can I play this? How can I play this? It's not easy to play, and it doesn't run. While you're at the website getting the torrent to download the project, please also go to the community page and click on the Discord link. Discord is where we stage all of this. It's where the people show up that make these projects bigger and better. If I didn't have Discord, I wouldn't have the impetus to make the video about why we couldn't do 9x, and I wouldn't have had the Discord member, Terra Longer, come along and watch that video and say, no, I think there is a way. I owe so much of the benefit of these projects in terms of where they've gone and the quality of these projects to the staff and the community at the eXoDOS Discord. In this case, well, it's the Retro Exo Discord now. It's moved way beyond just eXoDOS. I never thought I'd be sitting here saying eXoWin9x is a real thing. I have joked for years that I was going to die before we got this done. So please, come along for the journey, join the Discord, download the project, and follow as we go through the decade. Probably going to get all the way to 2005, 2006 before we start running out of new material here.